Okay, so good evening, good afternoon, peace to everyone. I'm Rashid, and I'm really happy to be able to hold space with you all this evening. Um, really honored to just be able to have the opportunity to have a little bit of conversation, exploration, reflections around something that I've really been sitting with for a while is holding disappointment. Just wanted to shout out Lama Rod and Lama Justin for inviting me to share as well. Okay, it's very, very special for me to be here. So just to go over the flow for what I'm thinking for this evening. So we'll start off with a sit, about a 30-minute sit, 30, 35, 40-minute sit. And during that sit, towards the end, I'm going to introduce a practice that I've been working on called REST, and it's an acronym. Um, REST, and the acronym is it's a practice that basically invites folks to rest through non-striving and more of a feeling of surrender during practice. I know for many of us, with all of the energy that we're carrying in our bodies, our hearts, especially many of us who are trauma survivors, being able to have a practice where we can actually let go and allow can be very nourishing to us. So um, I'm gonna find some way to put that in during the guided practice, or maybe even at the end of our session this evening. And then we'll have a moment for kind of like a testimony moment where I'm gonna just invite folks to share um, around how they've been holding disappointment, what that process might look like, and we can also just open up for questions as well. Okay. So for this practice, I want to invite everyone, if you have a blanket or something, to get a blanket. And also I want to invite everyone to lay down, okay? Um, I'm not going to lie down, but I'm really just encouraging us to take this moment to lie down and really get comfortable. All right, and once you found your body in the posture that works for you, I'm going to just remind you that please take these instructions as this guidance is more invitations, not really demands. I want to just invite everybody to really listen to their bodies and utilize agency over their bodies throughout the practice. Okay. All right, so I'll start us off by inviting 3 sounds of the bell. Okay, so just always, once again, checking in with the body. Really asking the body, is the posture that you're in right now, is it okay for you? You need to make any adjustments. And then just to start off by just reflecting on, why we're practicing, why you're practicing. Maybe you might want to dedicate this practice to someone, but really just becoming clear on your reason for practicing and just being here in this space. And also just really sensing into how precious this moment is, how precious this opportunity is for us to have the time, the electricity, the resources, the leisure to be able to stop and pause and to do the work that we're doing. Really just sensing into how special this moment is. And just allowing that to cultivate a sense of gratitude, just a sincere appreciation for this space, for this moment, for the teachings. And now just allowing your attention to come towards your body and just feeling the body lying on the floor. Really just feeling the earth holding you, holding the body. Feeling the sensation of touch, maybe exploring, what this feeling actually brings up for you. Maybe it's just a feeling of care, being held. Just allowing your awareness to rest in that experience, that feeling. And as you lie on the floor, lie on the bed, lie on the couch, or if you're sitting up, just allowing your attention to relax a little bit, to sense the entire experience of the body, just the felt sense of the body as a whole. Just a light awareness. And as we continue to feel the body being held by the earth and feeling the sensations, the body, we're going to begin to just scan through the body briefly, just resting our attention on a few points in the body and inviting those parts of the body to release, to surrender all holding and tension and identification, just surrendering it to the earth. Okay, so just starting by bringing your attention to your feet. And just sensing, being aware of any sensations that might appear when you rest your attention there. And then just kind of let go of any narrative that you might be having about what you're experiencing, even the naming feet. Just allow them to be experienced as sensations. And if there's any tension in your feet, your heels, your toes, just on your own rhythm, just taking a deep inhale and really placing your attention in the middle of the tension. And then as you exhale, just imagining that the entire, all of your feet just melt, dissolve into the earth. Okay. And then bringing your attention up the body to your knees and doing the same thing, just feeling your knees, maybe feeling any clothing touching on that part of the body. And then relaxing your mind, relaxing any narrative about the knees, about any sensations. And then on your own rhythm, taking a deep inhale in and placing your attention in the middle of the tension and the sensation. Then exhale, just imagining that this area just dissolves, and just surrendering, inviting that area of the body to surrender to being held into the earth. Okay, and just moving your attention up the body to your hips, placing your attention in your hips, feeling, sensing, allowing any narrative that you might be holding about this area, if possible, to just allow that to go. Then, as you inhale in deeply, placing your attention in the middle of this area, and then inviting it to exhale, and surrender, and to release to the earth. Okay, and moving up the body to your elbows, maybe feeling the elbows touching the earth if you're lying down, and allowing those sensations to help you to connect to your elbows. And just sense those sensations, feel those. And then as you inhale deeply, placing your attention in the center of any tension that might be in your elbows. And then as you exhale, inviting those sensations, that tension to relax and to release into the earth. Okay, and now moving your attention up the body, even further to your shoulders, the back of your shoulders. If you're lying down, feeling that contact, feeling the sensation of the body touching the earth, being held by the earth. Sensing any narrative, any stories that might be happening in your mind regarding the shoulders, allowing that to just dissolve, relaxing your attention. And then as you inhale in, just putting your attention in the middle of the shoulders of the tension. And then as you exhale out deeply, just imagining that the tension is dissolving and releasing into the earth. Okay. Then lastly, bringing your attention to your head, the back of your head, especially if you're laying on the floor. Just feeling the head making contact with the ground, the couch, the bed, pillow. And noticing any stories that may be appearing in your mind about your head. Seeing if it's possible to relax your mind. And then with this inhale, bringing your attention directly into the tension, any sensations in their head. And as you exhale, just imagining that the area of your head is just dissolving, any tension is just releasing into the earth. Okay, and now just scanning back through those points, just feeling the heels, the feet on the ground, the hips, the knees, the elbows, the shoulders, the head, and just resting your attention for a few moments and kind of just a whole body awareness, seeing if there's any part of your body that may still be holding tension. If it is, that's okay. And just maybe inviting a few deep breaths on your own rhythm in a particular area of the body or areas of the body that may need some attention. And just imagining with each exhale, the body just begins to release any leftover, any stale tension to the earth. So just try that for a little bit on your own. With every exhale, imagining that the body just releases. And now, as we continue to keep a relaxed awareness of the body, sensing the body, we're going to begin to deepen our breathing before we begin to descend into the earth a little, begin to rest in the earth. And the invitation is to, on your next exhalation, just hold your breath for 5 seconds before inhaling again. And what usually happens is the next inhalation naturally deepens, and the next exhalation naturally deepens, slows down. So just try this for a few seconds, holding your breath for 5 seconds before inhaling. And allowing your exhale now to be released out of your mouth rather than your nose. And holding after each exhale for 5 seconds. Okay, and now as we begin to exhale, we're now going to begin to relax our attention. And we're going to begin to descend into the earth. And it may be helpful to use your imagination to cultivate this feeling of releasing and sinking. And we're gonna descend down in increments of 5 feet. So maybe stopping around 20 feet. So just when you next inhale, just feeling your body laying on the earth in your chair. Then with the next exhalation, just imagining, if you like, that a white light just begins to descend from your body and just begins to descend down 5 feet. And when you get to 5 feet, just stopping and resting there and breathing there. And you may need to really allow, a few breaths to go by to help begin to cultivate this, bring this feeling of releasing into the earth, the body. So just do this on your own rhythm. And then when you get down to about 5 feet, just stopping and resting. And just imagining that you're breathing from this place of being 5 feet under the earth. Okay. So just doing this for a few moments. Okay, and now we're going to go down 5 more feet. So we're going to end up at 10 feet. So breathing in where you are 5 feet under. With your next exhale, just imagining that white light or that the back of your body just begins to release down to 10 feet. And don't have to, don't worry about it if if it's like, well, I don't really know if I'm 10 feet or not. It's okay. You may not feel anything, but just really hold the intention of just releasing and relaxing into the earth. Okay, so just spend a few breaths relaxing to 10 feet under. And breathing from that place of 10 feet under. So you don't have to like change your breathing, allow it to continue to deepen, but you're just imagining that kind of your nostrils kind of in 10 feet under and breathing from that place. Okay. And now we're going to go down to 15 feet. So once again, just breathing in, just feeling where you are at 10 feet. And as you exhale, just imagining that a white light, the back of your body just releases and extends 5 more feet down to 15 feet. And just notice how the body is feeling as you extend. And it may take a few breaths to go down. Maybe it may take 5 breaths to develop a sense of going 5 feet under even further. And just noticing how the body feels held or relaxed or supported. And just breathe from this place of openness. And then just rest a little bit once you get to that 15 feet. Okay, and then we're gonna go down 5 more feet. Last time we're gonna stop at 20. So just feeling the body where it is at 15 feet, breathing in deeply. With your next exhalation, just imagining that you just surrender and completely release even further, further down. And don't worry about whether it's 20 feet or not. Just for the next few breaths, just imagining that you're just surrendering more and more and more into the arms of the earth. And for a few moments, just resting here, just breathing from this place of being in the earth. And just notice how you feel resting in the earth. Feel cared for? Does it feel warmth, coolness, spaciousness, claustrophobic? Too tight for you? And if that's the case, just allow your attention to relax back to the surface of the earth. But if you're okay there, really just exhaling and allowing the body to be held without having to do anything. And it's likely that the mind may come up thinking about the earth or thinking about something that's going on in your life, and that's okay. When that happens, just feeling the body again, and on your exhale, deepening the exhale and just imagining that you're completely just recommitting to being held and surrendering into the arms of the earth. And if there's anything on your heart that's been pulling your attention recently, that's you've been feeling stuck about or concerned about, or maybe the body's in pain, or you know just shit happening in your life, anything that's comes to mind, just at this moment, just allow it to kind of also be included in being held. So you don't really have to do anything special to it, but the the invitation is, when you inhale, breathe kind of into that situation, and as you exhale, just imagine that this too is being held, and that the earth is inviting you to release it here in the earth, 20 feet under, or if you're more so comfortable with just on the earth, just lay it on the earth and leave it there. So spend some time with that, just asking the earth, please hold this for me. This is a lot for me. This feels heavy. And then it may be helpful to imagine that it just descends below you into the depths of the earth, and the earth receives it for you. And if there's anything on your heart that you need to confess, just confess it in the earth and ask the earth to hold it. and just surrender it to the earth. Okay, so now just gently allowing your attention to come back to the body just laying on top of the earth. And just allowing the body just to rest a little bit. Just rest in the feeling held by the earth and supported. And then I'm going to invite you to join me as I guide you through a brief experience of the rest practice. And the first part of this practice is simply to just relax your attention and release. You don't have to focus your attention on the body or the earth or the breath. You're just releasing all unnecessary usage of your energy right now. Just relaxing completely, relaxing and releasing. And if you fall asleep, that's okay too. And while your attention is just relaxing and releasing, just begin to, when you feel any type of striving begin to arise, or questioning or wandering of the mind with the attention, just begin to exhale this out and just be empty as possible. There's nothing that should be happening right now, and there's nothing that shouldn't be happening. There's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way that you could be right now. Just being empty of all striving, exhaling it, all expectations. And then we move to S, where we begin to surrender. And we surrender into the silence of our beingness, the silence of us that's not dependent upon all noises coming to an end, that's not dependent upon thoughts coming to an end, but there's this silence that seems to be naturally in the background of our minds. Just sense into the silence and surrender there. Surrender any striving, surrender it there. And notice how the silence always remains. And even holding the silence there's awareness of this silence. It knows the silence. It knows noise. And it's undisturbed, unconfined, without limits. It's who we are. It's what we are. Surrender into this awareness. Just tune into it. And if you're wondering if you're doing it right, surrender that too. Just being aware. Just being aware. And just rest. Relax the attention. Release. Exhale all striving. Just be empty and surrender into the silence. The effortless experience of being aware, which is the deepest rest. Okay. All right. And before we close the practice, just if there's anybody that you'd like to pray for, just taking some time to just offer some prayers from this place of rest. Okay, and may we all find rest. Now I'll invite the bell 3 times. Okay, so just seeing if the body needs to have any movement. We've been lying down for a little bit. Just bringing some movement to the body, whatever you need to do. Maybe drink some water. So what I'm thinking now is that rather than go into questions right now, I'll just share some reflections that I have around disappointment. And I really don't have the answer to the purpose of what I'm sharing isn't to give you like instructions on how to get rid of disappointment. But it's really about me sharing how I've learned to be with disappointment and live with disappointment recently. Okay. And many of you, if some of you may know, I've been actually talking about disappointment for about, it's probably been about 4 months now, 4 or 5 months. Um, and it's really because that's what's really been alive for me in my heart. And I try my best to just teach from there. Um, and it's what I've noticed as I've talked about disappointment with people and just giving talks on it. Um, I'm noticing that it's not really like a popular thing to talk about. It's not really popular to to not have it all together and to just talk about um, what's true sometimes. And what I've noticed is that as I've been holding my own disappointment, is I noticed the waves of suppressing in order to maintain a particular image that's outside of disappointment. And then I noticed like how much energy that takes to continue to suppress and to continue to bypass. And I I know it's like naming what's true for some people. you know it can feel like not spiritual, counter spiritual, or whatever. But in reality, we practice. The reason I practice is so that I can feel and so that I can be honest. Because it's been my experience that when I'm able to feel, then I have more energy, and then it's more likely for me to be compassionate to myself and others. And when I'm able to be honest, that honesty usually arises with some clarity. So it's not a naming to just be able to go around and talk to everybody about my disappointment and just like spill out on everybody. But it is a freedom around not being confined to a particular image that does not include disappointment. And the disappointment that I've been holding lately, started kind of in August. My fiance and our wedding was supposed to take place in August, and that got postponed because of COVID, like many other weddings. Um, and then we picked a new venue, and we were excited about that. And then that venue canceled. So now we're in the place of trying to figure out where we're going to have our wedding, which many people are figuring out. But then, because we were supposed to get married in August, in September, we were moving out of the place that we were living in into a new place. And, we got basically down to closing, and, we had to terminate our contract. So then we were without a place. And, we aren't homeless. We have family in the area. But so we found another place, and then it got to the closing, and we had to terminate that contract. And then we found another house, and it got down to closing, and we had to terminate that contract. And the disappointment for me, it at some point during that process, I had to really just acknowledge, wow, you know, I'm really feeling I'm feeling a lot right now, and you know, I had to just name to myself that that season was tough, because what I looking back, I noticed that I began to kind of like make justifications for my disappointment. Like, oh, everybody's having to cancel their wedding. Oh, everybody's having to postpone. Oh, many people are without having to live with families. There was a lot of justifications and rationalizing around the disappointment, but that became tiring, and I began to lose a lot of energy around it. And it was also a form of bypassing, right? To justify, to try to connect my experience to another's experience, not so that I could see, our shared humanity and our interconnectedness, but it was so that I could justify why I was feeling the way I felt, right? And what I learned is that, the first lie is that I'm always supposed to feel okay. And I also learned that, in the end, everything isn't always going to work out. And it's not a negative outlook on life. It's not a negative outlook. It's not a giving up. It's not a becoming hopeless. But it actually is. It actually came through just clarity and looking at life from an honest viewpoint. Because you know, I know it's easy for me to when things are going so well, it's really easy to have this idea that um, life is certain, and that's just not true. You know, everything is actually in chaos. Everything is always in chaos. It's always changing, always in flux. Nothing's solid. Everything is fluid. And through this season of disappointment, what I've learned is that me feeling into and naming the disappointment was me seeing myself as part of the fluidity, the chaos, the flux. And therefore a sense of freedom came along with that, because there was a diminishing of this hard, solid sense of self that was really attached to everything working out and believing that everything is going to work out. You know, I mean, and it's the idea that everything is going to work out is saying that everything is not always going to work out is sometimes a hard pill to swallow. So the question is, how do we live in the space of uncertainty? That's kind of what I've been reflecting on. How can I live in this space of uncertainty? What practices, what resources can I call on to support me to remain connected to the disappointment without becoming exhausted by it? And a lot of what I'm doing now is I'm learning to consciously allow my heart to remain closed when it's closed. And it's not to kind of like sit in my stuff and like a woe is me, but for me it's stepping outside of this idea that my heart always has to be open. That's just a trap, right? Because things are always changing, and you know my heart isn't always closed, but it's not always open either. And it's okay for me to name that, and I don't have to force it open, and I don't have to use meditation and spiritual practice as a way to make it open back up. We can. um, And, that's, I really love Audre Lorde's quote about, I feel, therefore I can be free. Therefore I'm free. Um, and, the freedom I'm learning to understand, the freedom is in the feeling, not making the heart open. It's not like the feeling is after the heart opens. So it's with this idea of disappointment, is how do I create space and time for myself so that I can feel? And, as a male, you know, identifying with being a male, taking the risk to feel is a huge risk, it's just my patriarchy, right? The conditioning. So what happens is most of the time, um, I default into silence, right? Because at least in the silence, I don't have to be vulnerable. But the trap is that, sometimes being silent, um, it's like it can be mistaken for being strong. And I'm not talking about the silence that we talked about in the practice where we were experiencing who we are and noticing that silence. But I'm talking about the silence where life is trying to open and pour through us, and we're sitting there as if it's not. So, so for many of us, it's risky to name it. It's risky to feel because the vulnerability is so hard. But that's why the practices are so important, because they help us to remember the spaciousness, to remember the silence. But we have to have practices, resources that we call on, um, because, if not, we'll just be fragile. And when I talk about fragility, and this goes for everybody, not just talking about white fragility, but um, just speaking about fragility with not having the energy to own our experience. One thing that I love about Lama Rod's acronym, I don't even know how to say it. I think it's Snoel or something, but it works. But he has the owning, you know, like fragility. When there's fragility, it's no capacity, it's no resources, no energy there that helps us to step into our experience, right? To feel the disappointment, to see the narrative in my mind about my disappointment, but not become exhausted. Like that's when we start doing that type of owning, then we begin to experience and to feel. He goes from owning into experience. Yeah, so it's just really important for there to be, for us to have some familiarity with our resources and how to become resource. How do we cultivate energy so that we can continue to live, with the disappointment. And a lot of what, you know, Bhumisparsha does, and a lot of other people, we're having to tap into creative ways of being able to hold, because these times, you know, the weight, the things that we're experiencing, many of us have never experienced before. So we're having to be creative. We're having to adapt. But we can only do that when we feel. And we need models. We need people who are modeling how to experience joy while remaining open, or might not even necessarily joy, because I don't want us to think that we have to like feel good, but how do we remain clear and discerning um, while we're remaining open to our disappointment? So I guess what I'm concluding with is um, this season of disappointment for me has really helped me to be able to take the risk of allowing the disappointment to point me to those parts of myself that I normally might not acknowledge or explore. And then we can let it float, like Lama Rod says at the end of his acronym, and let it float. And for me, that's just basically this place of when we become resourced enough, we cultivate the energy to allow whatever the disappointment or whatever is on our hearts, we allow it to be here with us in the present moment, because we see ourselves as the space around it. We aren't stuck in it. Okay, so Alex, maybe we can open it up for questions if people just want to make comments. Um, just love to hear from folks. So I'm not sure, Alex, if questions are coming in. If there are no questions. Okay, there's nothing yet. Does anybody have like a testimony of how you may have been moving, moving with holding your disappointment recently? How you deal with disappointment? I think it's really helpful to hear people's stories. Okay, so it doesn't seem like any questions or anything is coming in. So what I'm thinking that we can do is we can do another quick practice, maybe a 10-minute rest practice again, if no questions are coming in, and we can see if that might bring up a little more. Any other questions or anything? All right, so yeah, so I just invite you to find a posture that will work for you, just for another maybe 10-15 minute practice. Oh, I see there's a question. Yeah, I see. So I see someone says, um, I'm disappointed all the time. I'm chronically ill, so I'm always adjusting to the reality of how things are in each moment. Yeah, I mean, I think, people who are dealing with chronic illness and um, chronic pain, it's very difficult to sometimes um, kind of just see any sense of spaciousness or freedom, and having to feel can even seem like a burden. So I like you said, Laura, I just think um, finding ways to to resource yourself and um, to care for yourself in the way that works for you, that keeps you awake um, to what's necessary and what's needed for you in the moment is going to be critical. And it might not look like anything you read in a book or anything. It might just be a routine that you create for yourself, but just naming the disappointment and being willing to adjust to how things are is is great. Okay, so we'll do a quick practice. Okay, so I'll just invite the bell 3 times. And so just checking in with the body, just sensing into the body, see if you need to make any adjustments. It's going to be a short practice, but just to give us another opportunity to know the feeling of resting. Okay. So just feeling your body, feeling the earth below you, feeling the earth supporting you. And then just beginning to sense into the intention of not having to do anything. Just starting with relaxing your attention, just releasing it, just a letting go. And this relaxing is it's not like you remove your attention from one place and relax it to another place. It's just kind of a stopping, just a releasing altogether. And thoughts may come, your attention may move, may feel like it needs to go somewhere. And just allow it to go and then just release, just relax, like you're letting go of something that's in your hand. Just letting it fall. Just release. Not trying to notice anything or focus on anything, just relaxing. And then we shift to E, where we begin to just exhale all striving. So any idea about what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, what shouldn't be happening, or what kind of state you're supposed to be in, just exhaling that out, being empty. There's no wrong way to relax or to release. So don't try to do it right. Just exhale out everything, every idea of doing it right. Don't try to fill the space with anything. Don't try to fill the sense of emptiness with anything. Just rest there. Just relax. Exhale. Be empty. And then just begin to sense the silence that seems to be in the background. That even if there are thoughts, even if there are emotions or images or sounds, just begin to surrender into the natural quietness that seems to be just resting in the background of everything that's happening. Just really surrender it more and more as you exhale. Surrender more and more into the silence. Don't worry about the noise. Don't worry about the thoughts. Don't worry about anything. Just sensing into that quietness that's in the background of it all. Notice that you don't have to bring the silence. You don't have to focus your attention to create the silence. The silence is there. It's ever present, always there during all experiences. So just surrender to this space-like quality of silence. And then we begin to tune into the knowing, the awareness of the silence. And tuning is pointing to, we begin to experience for ourselves We begin to rest in this awareness. We begin to trust it. This knowing, this awareness, this effortless. It may feel like we have to do something to get to awareness, but as we rest and relax, we see that awareness is primary to all experience. It's here, it's alive, it's knowing, and yet it's without borders, without boundaries. It doesn't need you to clear the dust off of it so you can see it, so that it can see. Awareness naturally knows, it's aware of itself. And this is who we are. So don't look for the awareness. Don't try to find it. Just be. Surrender, trust, and rest as awareness. And then when you feel like there's something to do, or something that you should be doing, or that not sure if you're doing it right, you might just start back at S and just surrender that. And just trust that awareness doesn't need any help. Okay, so just feeling your body sitting or lying down. And I'll invite 3 sounds of the bell. Thank you for your practice. So we have about 8 more minutes left. And so just thinking about it, the rest practice is actually, you know, the the letting it float part of Lama Rod's acronym, to me. Um, the just sensing, resting, being in that spaciousness. So this practice is a practice that um, helps me to let the disappointment, let everything float. Any questions about the practice? Any questions about anything? I'm just curious. Like, what are people? What are people what have y'all been just doing lately? Maybe we can just talk. Anybody want to share something? It doesn't have to be about the practice or the talk. Just want to name, anybody just want to name something? Yeah, so if there's no more questions, I'm not going to try to fill the gap or to make anything happen that's not really happening. It's been a pleasure to be here, to just share, to sit, to rest. Yeah, and hopefully we'll meet again. Thank you all. Oh, I see. Wait, I see. There's a question. Oh, somebody. So okay, somebody. Holly has asked, would I please explain the steps of rest? And I'm going to be offering a 4 week kind of like mini course on it in February in 2021. I'm going to start doing more videos about the rest practice. So just if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at just be and breathe. Um, you can, and on Facebook, I'm just Rashid Hughes. But follow me, and you'll be able to get information about the offerings that I'm going to be doing around the rest practice to just elaborate a little more on it. But Holly, I love to share a little bit about the practice. So the acronym REST, the R stands for relax your attention and release. And this releasing is pretty much just allowing your attention to rest naturally, not focusing on anything. Oftentimes, in many practices, we come to our practice, with the intention to accomplish something or to place our attention on something. But this is more of a direct means of just relaxing the attention. And the idea is that when we release our attention, rather than turning our attention outwards or toward an object, spontaneously, as the attention begins to relax and settle more deeply, this feeling of release begins to happen. Okay, so that's the R for relax your attention and release. Exhale. E is exhale all striving, and that's really surrendering any expectations or outcomes that we have about what should be happening in our practice. The exhalation represents being emptying of any unnecessary energy usage of energy that doesn't, because this practice is kind of starting from the idea, from the place that right now in our naturalness, that we already, there's this natural resting in our core, so we don't have to strive to get to the resting. So we're releasing all of that striving. For S is sense the silence. So the sensing is kind of a surrendering into the silence, and it's pointing to the quietness that's always present with us, as us, in the background of all activity, external activity and internal activity. And the silence isn't dependent upon sounds or the cessation of thoughts or emotions. And this silence is a place that we can begin to sense more into as we exhale, as we relax our attention. And then lastly, we end up with T, where we begin to tune into awareness. We're really beginning to come kind of to the primordial space of who and what we are. So we begin to really tune into, and when we say tune into, it means just we experience ourselves like nakedly, just raw. We've completely let go of all striving. We've sensed into the spaciousness and the silence within and beyond, seemingly behind all of experience. And then we just begin to completely trust and just be naked, just purely here, without any agenda. Um, so hopefully, Holly, that helped bring some clarity about the practice. But let's stay in contact. Let's stay in touch, so that we can continue to explore. I would love to continue to just go deeper into the practice. Any other questions? And there's also a link in the chat for Dana or donations. If you go to Heart Refuge Mindfulness Community, shout out to Heart Refuge Mindfulness Community. It's a BIPOC community that myself and Mama Aisha Ali. Huge shout out to Mama Aisha Ali. We're the co-intention holders, co-founders there. So on our donate page, you can find out how you can. You'll see all of my tags, so you can donate. I really appreciate that. Okay, so it's been good, y'all.